following that board meeting on October 27th, when they did not confirm nor deny that there was an investigation, they issued a social media notice, I believe it was on November 4th, and said, actually, let me go back. On November 1st, they finally called for their special closed session and called it what it was, to discuss legal matters. So they must have met behind closed doors and said, okay, well, people know, and of course they know that I like to alert members to what's going on so that it would be on social media. So they must have discussed and talked about, how do we clamp down on that? Instead of actually addressing it, they issued a memorandum, a letter, and said, don't listen to the rumors on social media. Don't, disparage staff, which is not really what's happening. It's just about being transparent about the issue. So that was their way of, trying to squash the matter by basically saying, don't believe what you hear. Everything's fine. Just keep doing what you're doing. So then I had submitted, as you know, the letter to the editor, which was declined for that month. And then I created a ruckus about that on social media, because the newspaper is a fluff newspaper, and they only want the good things about Hemlock Farms discussed, written, published in the paper. So on November 16th, I had emailed our community manager and our director of public safety and the board and our assistant community manager, and asked for a meeting with the public safety director to have an open and honest conversation, because his wife had said that his office is open and honest about everything that's going on. And so our community manager had responded and said, no, Tracy, you cannot meet with the public safety director because there is an investigation going on. So that was the first time that anybody had confirmed that there was actually an investigation going on. So what that should signal to you is that, again, they wanted to go for as long as possible to deny that was even an investigation. And it still wasn't the board who would acknowledge that there's an investigation. It was our community manager. So the next thing that happened was the December 13th board meeting, when I asked them, based on the information and knowledge that I have about pending lawsuit, or the lawsuit that would be forthcoming. At that time, the board president, John Hannock, did answer the question, and he said, I know what you are referring to, but it's best not to speculate. Okay, well, he knows what I was referring to, because there is pending litigation coming from the people involved, the people impacted and affected by this situation at public safety. The issue for me and for many others that I have spoken to is that there's no transparency and there's no accountability, and people, have defended them and basically said, let them do this investigation. You don't need to know everything. But that's not really the issue. The issue is that they are the leaders of the community. They should be protecting us and members from any illicit actions and actors that are working for this community. And if there was foul play with anything, then they should have demanded that the community manager put people on suspended leave, with or without pay. Fine, pay them. But during an active investigation, no, you should not be working or interacting with the membership. So they had their board meeting on December 13th, and then they once again issued their memo that they were going to have another closed session of the board. And that was on December 20th. And it was at that meeting that they probably discussed the pending litigation. And then 6 days later, on December 26th, is when Michael Smolensky issued his letter of resignation, which we all got from the from the president of the board of directors. So they are now trying to fill Mike Smolensky's seat, and they want to have this next closed session meeting on Saturday the 10th to fill the seat, and they will announce who is going to be the fill-in director for his seat on January 24th.